Hello everyone. I hope you are doing well and welcome to the second episode of Devomech Insights. Today we will be discussing the challenges that the services startups face, specifically in engineering services startups. Uh, so, uh, so I'll engage Usman now. Usman, what do you think are the challenges that such services startups face?
First of all, hello, thank you. I think the first challenge is to find the first client because when you're starting a new startup and you have to provide services to someone, so for the first client, you have to convince them that you are able to deliver the thing because in the past you don't have any history, you don't have any client testimonials, people don't know you in that respect. So the finding the first client who will trust you and he will believe in you that yes, if I work with you, you can deliver the work on time in the price. So that will be, I think, the most challenging part of starting a services startup, I think.
Yeah, because I totally agree to that because convincing that first client that you can really do it and you have the potential to do it.
Mhm.
And I think convincing comes later. The first point is finding the right client.
Yeah.
And so, what is the solution to it? How to overcome this challenge?
Well, I think it depends about your background. So if you're already an engineer, you have an engineering degree, you will have some work that you can show. Maybe you can do some hobby projects or something like that.
But the point is how to find the right client.
Well, okay, so to find the right client, that is an interesting topic. There are multiple ways. One way is to reach out to multiple companies where you have some references, where you have some people who have been working with you, maybe they studied with you during your student lifetime, or maybe you have worked with them in some industry or something like that. So that reference, they will already know you in some capacity. So that will be really helpful for you to find a new client. Other than that, there are also some other options that you can maybe start working on freelancing websites because these days also freelancing websites are very interesting and you find really good projects from there as well. Initially, you'll have to convince by providing better value for money. So more of a like reducing your hourly rate or something, and also present yourself, and you should be capable of discussing the client to understand their problem. So when they're talking to you, they should be at least confident that okay, the person knows things, they can pull off and deliver the project.
Interesting. So when we talk about the freelancing platforms, I think the first project is not about earning something, it is about earning a feedback,
Yes.
a review from the client.
And I think that's true for all the projects. Like if you're also going for direct B2B business or something like that, obviously you, over there also your first project will be more of convincing someone that just gives you some work. You shouldn't be aiming for becoming millionaire within the first project for sure. So you should be first focusing on getting some work so that you can get a reference that I have worked with that company. You will get some cash flow as well, obviously, to keep things running. But that project shouldn't be really focusing on getting some profits. So it should be more on the revenue generation and use that revenue to focus more on the next business development, stuff like that.
Yeah, I still remember when I started providing consultancy services on a freelancing platform, Odesk, now called as Upwork.
Yeah.
And the first project I did was worth $15.
All right. Okay.
And I was in contact with the client for the last 3 months. And after 3 months, he decided to give me that project. And it took me a whole around 8 to 10 hours to complete it because I knew very little. I was in my final year, and then at the end he gave me a $10 bonus because he was happy with the work I did. So that was a $25 worth project for effort of 8 to 10 hours. And then I remember that then I worked with that client for long term, and that's where my profile started to getting better with his reviews and feedbacks.
Yeah, I agree to that. So I think client satisfaction is very, very important. So think of your clients as your brand ambassadors. Work for them that good that they say wherever they go, they should be confident that I work with this company. They are that so good that they recommend you. So they will be acting like your brand ambassador without any cost for you. So that's the best effective marketing that we can do, or any services company can do, that deliver the work beyond the expectations of the client. That will really pay off in the longer run.
All right, the next challenge that these startups face is the cash flow struggles.
Yeah.
Because as they start to scale up a little bit, as a person who was previously providing a consultancy services now has hired 2 or 3 employees, let's say, and now he has to make sure that he can pay the rent, he can pay the bills, he can pay the salaries. But the cash flow is where every startup struggles. So, what do you think about that, and what is the solution to that?
Well, I think cash flow is very important. Many startups struggle in it, and at the end, because they are not managing their cash flows efficiently, they maybe just vanish away. Because if you're not good with the cash flows, it's always difficult. So for the person who is starting the business, they should be reinvesting in their business. So that is the first thing. And they should keep buffer for rainy days, they call it. So that is very important, that you always keep some buffer. If things go wrong, you should be able to sustain your company, to sustain your employees, for example, because you cannot just let your employees go because this month we are not having any project. You have to make sure that you are getting all the work and sustaining your employees over there.
Not all clients are very good. It means very cooperative and understanding. Some clients I've observed tend to take benefit of the less experience of smaller startups or early agencies.
Yeah.
And they know that these guys are struggling for work and they need work, and they take benefit of that, and they don't pay them in advance or in timely manner. They keep delaying payments. And
Yes.
at the end, many of them end up not paying at all and walking away with the project, but not making all the payment.
Yeah, that is right. So self realization of the work that you're doing, that is very important. If you're doing good work, be confident about that, and deal with the client confidently that okay, we are delivering this work, you need to pay them money, because that's what they agreed about. So once the agreement is done that he will pay this much money for this much delivery, stick to that. Because many startups struggle in this thing, and initially we have been in that position as well. So I think that is very important to understand that don't relax a lot on the client payment side, because if the cash flow is disturbed, your whole business is at stake. So it's very important to make sure that you are invoicing the clients at the right time, they are paying the invoices. If the invoice is not fulfilled, so put some pressure on the clients. Make sure that you are dealing with them officially, and all the contracts are signed, and also all the things are streamlined, so that you can make sure that clients are paying on the time.
It's great that you mentioned the contract in there. I think having a good contract at the start of the project can really help you along the way. If you have strong terms and conditions, that what happens if the client does not pay, then if that thing is covered in the contract, I think that can help them a lot from saving themselves from non-payments from different clients. For example, let's say if there's a R&D project going on, and you have in their terms and conditions that if the client does not pay, let's say within this much time period, this much weeks of the due date, then the IP rights will be transferred to you instead of the client. So if you have such terms and conditions, that can really help you. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the main thing that you have to understand is that what is important for the client. So once you understand that point, you have to deal with him accordingly. Because for the startup, everyone is good for himself, obviously. Yeah, So for the startup, payment is very important. payment should received. If the payment, the important thing that is for us is not being taken care of by the client, so target something that the client is more focused on. So IP rights are obviously very important for the clients, so that is something that can be one of the things that you can like already add in the contract, that if the payment is disturbed, so we can get IP rights or some equity or something like that, so that client knows that if I mess around with the payments, so you will find something over some backup plan for yourself.
So here the advice would be that don't shy away from asking for the invoice to be paid, because I think that most of these startup founders are so in some way are so courteous and thankful to the client for working with them, that they are not confident enough to ask their clients to make those payments that are due. And I think it is all about confidence. You need to build that confidence in yourself and your abilities and your words, that you can communicate whatever you have in mind to your client.
And also, I think let's move to the next point. So another challenge that is building the team. So everyone wants to have a dream team that can work just like yourself. You are so hardworking. You are working more than 8 hours a day or something, and at the end, you want to have your team members to be working just like you. But how do you think we can set up a team like this?
Have a dream about it. if you want a dream team, but the thing is actually is here the leadership skills of the founder jump in. If he's a good leader, he empowers his team, trusts them, avoids micromanagement. If he follows all those leadership traits, I think then and it will take time. Means it is not an overnight thing. It won't take. It can't be done in a year or 2 years. It will take a few years to develop a good team, to have the right people around you, and then the important thing is to appreciate the right people around you as well. If you have team members, no, all team members can't be equal and can't be perfect in your team. If you have a team of, let's say, 20 people, out of those 6 or 7 would be the ones that you can rely on, and then you need to appreciate them. You need to benefit them in whatever way possible, and keep them around for long.
Yeah, exactly. So initial team members are really important for the startup, because they have seen all the struggles that a startup has done. So it's very important and good for a company to have their team members working with us. So for example, we already have in our company team members who have joined us in the very beginning, and they're still with us. So having them in your team, appreciating their work, and appreciating their dedication, that is very important, I think. And keeping them aligned with your goals and vision, so that is very important for any leader to tell their team that what is our vision, why are we doing this, because we might be better off working in a company somewhere else, but we are working in this startup, so why they should be being with us. So that is very important to be clear on that point, and keeping your team members motivated on all the aspects.
Okay, so if I ask the question like this, that if you have to prioritize between technical skills and loyalty, which one would you give higher preference to?
It's a difficult one. So I think mix of both will be the best case. Maybe they are not that good. So I think in the company you have to have multiple people with multiple traits. So maybe some of them will be more loyal, some of them will be more dedicated, and some of them may be more hardworking and better on the technical side of the things. So I think having both because best fit, best combination of both, it is like sort of impossible or maybe very difficult to have. But I think you have to manage the good mix between both. That a few team members are very dedicated and loyal to your company, a few of them are very technical, and to keep things very sustainable, it's very important to have better mix. And I would say having a person who is let's say 50% loyal and having good on the technical side as well, that will also be a good bargain, I would say. What do you think?
Agreed. And I think when the startup scales up, the team size increases more than 40 or 50,
Yeah.
then I think that a few team members in the higher management, their loyalty should be given some sort of preference over their technical skills. Definitely, if they're in the higher management, they have some level of skill set. But if they're loyal to the company, that can go a long way in terms of that if they stay within the company,
Yes.
that can really help scaling it up faster.
Yeah, exactly. Also, in our company, we always prefer to have facilitate our team members and making sure that all their needs are fulfilled and they are working with us in the longer run. So having a resource that works with you in the longer run, and always I have discussions with my team members and discuss with them that if you have to think about working with Devomech for like 20 years, 30 years of your life, so what are the things that you want to see in the company? What are the things that are important for you guys in that perspective? So it's very important to understand that what they need and keep them motivated to work with you longer run, because that will always be beneficial for both sides, not just for the company, for the employees as well, because they understand that how things are working, they understand their leaders, like their managers, etc., and they will be more comfortable working with you in the longer run.
And also, I think here we can't downplay the importance of the company culture.
Yes.
Because it's not just the pay package and the benefits that attract the client in these days. You have to have a good company culture where everyone is mentally relaxed while working, and is given a chance to stay in a good mental mood.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very important, and that is. I remember that I saw some paracetamol tablets in the drawer of one of my team member, and I asked him that why do you have it here, and they said that when we get too much involved in the project, so we might have to use this. So that is also something that sometimes happens, but overall we also try to keep all the things very relaxed. All the policies that we have, for example, what time they're working and the deliverables they have to do. For example, if the thing is delayed or something, things happen. Not everyone is the best every day, so you have to understand that perspective and make sure that you accommodate your team members such that they are not feeling, for example, if they're already not feeling well or they have some family issues or something, so you have to understand that part and make sure that they feel like we are understanding their problem.
I did not know that you look into the drawers of your team members.
Yeah, actually, it was just an incident that I was testing something with my team member, and they just opened that drawer and they were paracetamol, and I just asked him. Obviously, I'm not going to check all the drawers every day.
All right. The next important challenge for every startup founder or a new consultancy company is to set the right price for their services. Means they don't want to be too expensive, they don't want to be too cheap, and they don't know the right balance what they should quote. Definitely everyone wants to quote as high as they can, but then they also consider that what would the client be willing to pay.
Yes.
So how to set the right price for your services?
Well, actually, you have to understand the market. You have to see what others are what others charging, and for example, if the market is charging, let's say people are asking for $70 per hour, and if you are selling your services for $5 per hour, so the client will also think about it twice or thrice that what exactly is the difference between 70 and 5.
What the hell is wrong here?
Yeah, exactly. So that will be sort of a red flag for the client as well. So don't put your services so cheap that it's difficult for you as well to manage in that price, and also for the client it will be a red flag that what exactly is wrong here. So from that perspective, it's very important to understand the market, what other people are charging in this domain, and what should be your, and also don't target for very a lot of commission or like a lot of profit in it. Just be logical in it. Just
One question here: if an experienced resource in the same field is charging $50 per hour, and this guy is a fresh graduate and has started providing this consultancy services, so what should his hourly rate be?
Well, for the very fresh graduate, it's a bit difficult because most of the people who are coming to get some services, they would prefer to have someone who is not really fresh, he has some experience, because they want to have the confidence that the work that will be delivered, it will be in a good shape and form as well. And from very fresh graduates, it's difficult for them to deliver quality work. So first of all, I would not suggest someone to start directly after graduation. Get some experience in the company, get some work done, so that you can understand what are the norms in the company, how you should be working, what are the documentation. Because when you're coming from the university directly, you don't know what are the documentation required for a project, what are the things that you should be focusing on, what are the quality standards that you should be following, what is the certification required for these products. So all this thing you don't know from the university scope. So you should come into the market for maybe a few years, understand how things work, and then you should start something like this on your own. Also, it's important to understand that, for example, if you're in the working with a similar company, so you will understand that how things are working there, what are the challenges they are facing, be focused. If you have already, so just take an example, you are a fresh graduate, you have ambition in your mind that you want to make a company, services company like ours. So what I would suggest is work with a company like this for a few years, and be very close to them. Mostly people, like, at least we are very open in all the discussions with our team members. If someone wants to understand that how we are working or what are the challenges or things like that, we are open to discuss this thing and share with our team members. So most of the other founders will also be like that. And sit with them, understand how they are working, how things are, what are the challenges they are facing, and also understand that what are the strategies and also I would say it's not necessary that the thing that worked for that founder will work for you as well. Because I have met many founders, someone is working, getting a lot of projects through LinkedIn, someone is getting a lot of projects through social media, some of them are getting a lot of projects through freelancing platforms, some of them are targeting directly B2B, cold emailing, cold calls, etc. as well. So it's not one formula fit all. Everyone has to find their own way and understand that what fits them. But it's very important to understand the market and understand that what other companies are doing that, and the best way to do is, I think, work with that company.
And also I think for quoting the right price, you need to understand your client as well.
Yeah.
That what is the difficulty level of the problem that you are solving for them.
Yeah.
How much effort would go into it, and how many competitors do you have in solving this particular problem.
Yes.
If this is something that you can do only, you know that, and they have to get it done from you, then you can charge a bit higher price.
Yes.
But if you see that this is a task that most of the engineers or companies can do, then maybe you have to be competitive in your pricing.
Yep.
So I think the key is to understand your client and their needs. Means if they are contacting you to get a cheaper work done, then you have to be competitive in your pricing. If you are interested in that, and if you know that the client doesn't is not worrying about the money, he just wants to get things done, then you can charge your standard rates that you would like to charge.
Yeah, I think that I agree to that. So every client has their own preferences. So quality for the client that they want to work have, that is different for every client. Some clients are very picky about the quality of work, and some clients are like, I just want to get things done. I don't mind if you do something like this or that. So that is very important to understand that what exactly are the clients targeting. So if they are targeting very high quality, then obviously you can quote higher price as well.
Can you tell a funny incident where a client contacted you and it was related to pricing?
Well, yes. I think I remember an instance where client wanted to get some work done, and they were not really focused on the quality, like the pricing, but they were focused just on the quality. They wanted to, because they were already working with multiple vendors. They gave the project to them, but the quality that they delivered, that was so low quality that they were so fed up with all this multiple iterations that they have to do. So they were just focusing on the work quality. So they were not even discussing much about the pricing, that what should be the pricing, etc. They were just focusing that, can you deliver a good quality product? And then we showed our portfolio and all that stuff. And they were confident that, okay, these guys can really deliver the work and really a high quality product. So yeah, there are many consequences like this where we were getting really for asking for the premium work as compared to low quality work that is cheaper.
Means I know a client, and means he had this complex machine that he wanted to get designed, and when I gave him a quote, he told me that this quote is more than the price of a similar new machine that exists in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to explain it that if the market product exists in the market, then go ahead and buy it instead of getting it designed and getting it manufactured, because that is a lot more expensive than buying a new machine.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes we have to do some consultancy for the clients as well to let them understand the problem statement, because sometimes people don't understand this R&D work, that you have to do a lot of work, a lot of certifications and required for launching a new product. It's not that you just go and design a new product. We are not working for the hobbyists. We are working for the professionals who have to sell their products to the market. So there's a lot of work that is required for that.
The next challenge that most startups face is scaling without chaos. How to scale in an organized manner, and is that even possible?
Well, yes, theoretically it's possible, but practically we have to consider a lot of things. That when you are scaling, that means you are foreseeing something, that now we will be getting more projects, now we will expanding our team members, so you are increasing your costs, and you are expecting that along with that you will be getting more revenue. But it's not always the case. Maybe sometimes your scaling can work as planned, maybe sometimes it doesn't. So for that, to avoid chaos during all that, it's very important to keep your finances strong behind the scenes. So if your finances are strong, you know that yes, I'm scaling my company, I'm increasing my workforce by maybe 50% or 80%, and I'm sure that I can sustain my team members even if my work is not, I'm not getting that much increase in the revenue. So then it is all fine. But if you are just assuming that, okay, currently I don't have any backup in my bank account for the company, and then I'm just scaling and increasing my fixed cost for the month by double or something, and then that's very risky. So you should take really a calculated risk here, that how you should be planning.
Usman, you're an engineer, but most of your discussion again comes to financials. That is really interesting.
Yeah,
but the problem that I had in mind, actually, the reason why I asked this question was related to this chaos in managing things,
okay.
in a scaling startup. And,
right.
And that means when to add the next layer of management in the hierarchy,
all right.
and how to manage all of it.
Okay, yeah, now I understand. So from that perspective, I would say when you feel like your time is getting a bottleneck, then that means if you think like things are getting delayed because of you, it's time to add another layer between things. So I remember that when we were initially working, so we were doing the HR work as well, we were doing the accounting as well, we were doing the project management as well, we were the mentors for our technical team as well. So we were having a lot of hats while working with these projects. So I think it's important to delegate work as soon as possible and trust your team members, trust your people that they can work good enough and they can deliver the same quality of things that you were doing. Because as a startup founder, when you are doing all the things yourself, you understand everything, and then it's difficult to trust someone else that they will be doing the same work with the same quality and same due diligence. So that is, I think, a bit difficult, but you have to do it.
So you have to kill your instinct of trying to do everything yourself.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think a true entrepreneur should be very good at delegation. If you're poor at delegating work, then you can't make a good business out of
exactly.
your venture. So now, rapid fire tips for entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs specifically. You have 1 minute. Give some tips. Go ahead.
Well, so first of all, it's very important to know your USP. That what is your unique selling point, why people should work with you. That is very important, and then stick to it, be confident about it, and share with your clients that we are providing this service, and quality should be the prime focus as well. Don't sacrifice on the quality on this while delivering the work. Make sure your clients are happy. Client satisfaction is the key to success in the longer run. Then you should be make sure that your team is well taken care of. As a startup in services, your team is your asset. If you don't have a very good team, you cannot deliver quality work, and then in the end, there is nothing that your business is based on. So your team members are very key to success in this. And then make sure your finances, once again, your finances are strong, and make sure that you are getting paid on time and as per your quality of work. Just maybe in the very beginning you can reduce your cost to grab some projects, but once you have your portfolio, ask for the money that you're worth of.
And I would like to add a few points to that as well. I think one important aspect to it is the focused approach, that means don't try to do everything, don't try to provide every service that you can. Instead, focus on one thing that you can do and then excel at it. Be good at one thing and not try to learn everything yourself. And the second point would be to stay consistent. Means if you are trying one thing and it has not worked for the last 6 months, that does not mean that it's time to try a new thing. You stay determined. At least give it a couple of years, and hopefully something will come out of it. I think I have seen many entrepreneurs who are switching roles so frequently that they have not been able to settle in any one of those. And another thing would be to find the right mentors. Those people that have achieved what you want to achieve in a way, so that they can guide you through it. You don't need to select someone high at the mountain, just who has passed through that phase that you are going through now, so that he can give you the relevant guidance.
Yeah, I think I agree on all those points that you have mentioned. So just adding on that point that because if the person is already at the top of the mountain, then that means he has passed through your struggle phase, like maybe a decade ago or 2 decades ago, and he might have already forget the main things that you want to know. So just find someone that is like a couple of years or 4 or 5 years ahead of you, so that they have all those struggles fresh in their mind, and they can guide you through much better as compared to someone that is already at the top of the things. So I think that is very important, yeah.
All right, so now let's talk about Devomech and
Mhm.
its contributions towards innovation. So, so what do you think that Devomech has contributed in this world? Has it made the world a better place, or a bad place, or a
Well,
place worth living for?
Well, yeah. So our focus is always on very innovative ideas, very innovative startups. We have been supporting many startups throughout our journey, and we many of the startups were focused on the healthcare industry, where we are working on designing and developing products that can help how the patients feel and how the problems can be solved for them. And also, other than that, we have been serving in the eco-friendly manner as well, and also some projects that we have done in the environmental engineering. So mainly focusing on how we can improve the environment and how we can provide drinkable water to people who are not have access to the drinkable water and stuff like that. So we have been working with, so obviously most of the ideas that we have been working on, the products that we have been working, they were ideas of our clients. But when we work with them, we endorse that idea and we feel confident that we have contributed to some extent to that idea. And we are trying our best to make the world a better place for sure.
Yeah, means many clients ask me that what is your motivation
Mhm.
for doing this particular project for us? And my answer is always the same, that I feel like if this new product is introduced into the market, this will make this will make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that is very important. Means you should only work on the things that add value to the whole world, the standard of living.
Yeah.
And I think all of our products, and we have said no to many projects as well, which are very lucrative in terms of financials.
Yeah.
But we had to say no because ethically we were not aligned with them,
Mhm.
and we didn't want to take on those and have a burden on our soul, so to say.
Yeah, I think that is also important. And I understand that as an entrepreneur, as a founder, it's very difficult to say a no to a project because obviously you want to see more revenue in your bank. So when you say no to something that we don't want to work on this project, it's very, very difficult. But then in the longer run, it's very important that the values or the ethical problems that you have in your mind, so you should be clear about that. And if something is raising a yellow flag or red flag in your brain that, okay, I should be working on this project, it doesn't align with my values, so I think it's better to avoid those projects. And this is, I think, for all the founders as well, because revenue you can increase by from this project or the other project, but these things, if you think about it later down the line, when you're, for example, maybe 10-20 years down the line, and then you will think about it, we did that project, so that might you might not feel well about it, or that will be a burden on you that, okay,
May
we
not
did
be
this.
at least proud of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's good to say no to those projects.
One question here: making a services company like Devomech Solutions, does it make you rich? Because most of entrepreneurs, they want to get rich pretty quickly.
Well, I would say not really that you will get rich overnight. Obviously, it's good from financial perspective, but then there's also ups and downs in it, because you're relying on entrepreneurs, you're relying on startup culture, and startups are usually not best paying clients. So in that perspective, because they also have their limited resources, so they cannot just give you $1 million to get a small thing done. So yes, I think it's very it's good financially, but it's not very lucrative in that sense. The best thing I would say for the services company is that you don't need huge investment to start the business. So that is one of the best thing in the services business, that you don't have to be rich before you start the business. For sure, in the longer run, you will get some rich as well, but that is not something that you have to be before starting the business.
All right, let's talk about the lessons that you have learned over the years in running this business, and what are the things that you think you have learned, and what are the things that you think that you learned a bit late. If you would have known them a bit earlier in time, that would have been helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the first thing I would say, take calculated risks. Risk taking capability is very important for a founder. You should be ready to take the risk. The first thing is obviously that if you leave your job and then you start your business, that is already a step towards taking risk, because you're leaving your salary that you are just getting every month, and then you are taking a risk that, okay, I don't know if I will find a client in the next month or next couple of months or next 6 months. So these are the risks that, and also along the way, you have to take a lot of risks in your life as a founder. So it is very important to take risk, because if you are not taking any risk, you will not be able to proceed well in the startup culture.
One question here. Does this risk increase as you scale up, or does it decrease?
For sure it increases. Because when you are in the beginning, your expenses are very limited, your revenue is very limited, so obviously all the risks
Very less can go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You have nothing much to lose. But then when you are down the line and you have a lot of team members, a lot of monthly fixed rents, or etc. So to cover all the monthly costs, then obviously it is a bigger risk, and also the decisions that you have to take that can go wrong bigger way, because the scale of things have changed. So obviously, as the scale of the business have increased, so obviously the risk is also increased.
So means as the Devomech is growing, and now we have we have around 70 team members.
Mm-hmm.
So means as we keep expanding and growing, so does it disturb you in a way that now our risk is increasing, our fixed costs in terms of monthly salaries, rents, bills is increasing? So does it impact you negatively in any manner?
I would say not that much for us, because we keep buffer on financial side of the things to make sure that we are sustainable for next at least 6 months, without, even if we don't make even a penny during those 6 months, we can sustain the company as is without reducing any costs. So that gives a little bit relief in our minds that at least we are covered for that much time and it will not affect you directly. But obviously there is a lot of liability on you. Like for example, if you have 70 people working in your company, so 70 families are relying on you. So you should be taking care of all those things, and also a lot of other expenses and everything. So obviously there is a liability that you have to, that sometimes might disturb you. But making sure that you are keeping things sustainable, company has some balance in their bank accounts and all that. So that will keep you a little bit relaxed as well. What do you think? Does that affect you as well?
I think yes, in a manner, because now you feel like because your revenue target keeps increasing as you add your liabilities.
Yeah.
And meeting that revenue target is always, as the target gets higher, so it definitely seems difficult in some ways. So I feel like that, and the responsibility on you also increases, because now you're responsible to a lot more revenue than you were before. So I feel like I feel that pressure sometimes, and I think one should feel too, because one should be expand or grow in a more organic manner. They should expand responsibly, that they can handle for the long term, that is sustainable. So I kind of feel that pressure at some times, and I think that may be a good thing in some ways.
Yeah, for sure. That is a good thing that keeps you motivated to work harder and proceed further. So if you are, if you go into the comfort zone that okay, everything is good and all that. So because I have seen a lot of companies in Europe who are into that phase already, that these people have like, for example, a specific team. They are targeting some specific clients, and then they are just like that. So they don't have the plans to grow even. For one of our projects in the past, we were dealing with a Japanese client where they were providing some motion platforms, and we discussed with them that why don't you expand into Europe market, because we were already getting one imported from Japan and selling it in the Europe. So we discussed with them that why don't you expand actually. So they said that okay, we don't really want to. We are good with what we are doing. We are selling as per our targets, and our targets are not increasing. We are stable, and we just want to be like this because we cannot expand it further.
I think German companies like to stay small, most of them.
Yes. I think in Germany and Europe overall, most of the companies are SMEs, small to medium enterprises. Companies don't tend to become really big as in America, because America culture is a little bit different. Over there, companies want to get bigger, and become like maybe like
unicorns. Sort of.
Exactly, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think in Europe, it's not like that. It's culture is pretty different over there.
I think the next lesson that we learned is investing in people, investing in your team, as we have discussed this earlier, because your team is your asset, your team is your strength when you are in a services company. The stronger the team is, the better the company would be, or the better the services would be. So I think that maybe we learned this a bit late. We didn't invest as much as we should have in the start. But it's better we learned it at a later stage, and we start investing in our people in terms of trainings, in terms of taking care of their personal problems, in terms of health insurance, in terms of providing them accommodations, etc. So I think that we learned this a bit late. I wish we could have learned it or we knew it from the start. But I think this is for all the entrepreneurs that invest in your people, because when you start business, you want to have as many savings as in your account, and you tend to invest very less. If you have a if your founder is very sensitive about expenses, so that can really trigger that. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, I totally agree on that. So yes, we did this a little bit late in our journey. If I would have to start this journey again, so I would do it much earlier than as we did this time. But I think yes, it's very.
So if you do it all over again, will I get a car?
Not you, but our team members maybe. Oh. You can afford your car, I know.
No benefit there.
But I think yes, it's very important, especially for team members. I would say it's important to realize them, because that training and all these things are important for them. Sometimes if your team members are early in their career, they don't understand that part. So it's very important to motivate them and tell them that okay, you need to understand the importance of training yourself, and you should create opportunities for them to sort of enforce them to learn. Because as a human nature, it's always like you tend to delay these things as much as possible because you are busy in this and that or blah blah blah. But it is very important to motivate them that they should be focusing on these things. And that's why we also have our, now we have introduced our learning sessions every week, so that our team can share knowledge with each other. And also we have our milestone based achievements where we sponsor our team members to get certifications, etc. So I think these things are getting good for our team members for now, but sometimes we have to motivate them. You guys should use this as a good opportunity and get benefit from it.
So keeping all this in mind, am I still not getting a car?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Okay, so I think as a next lesson, it's important to understand that failures are part of life. and embracing them elegantly, learning from them, it's very important. So what do you think
How
about
to embrace a failure elegantly? What to say about it? Give a hug to your failure, or what would be the right way of doing it?
that? Sort of something like that? Maybe. It's like, from my perspective, I think it's important to understand that this, with the failure, what was the reason, what were the problems that caused, because failure is not caused by one single problem. There are multiple problems that have caused this a complete failure. So you should learn from it. Failing once is not an issue, but if you fail twice or thrice in the same thing, that is an issue. So you should be learning from your experiences and understanding that what went wrong and how we can avoid it in the future.
So, what are our failures?
Well, late delegation, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, all the failures that we have realized, we have already taken care of them. So already, if there is something that we have not realized yet, so maybe we will. We have not found a solution to that. But I think late delegation was one of the issues that we did, and it should be, you should be delegating things to your team members as soon as possible.
Problems that most sort of face is in delegation is they want to stay in contact with the client themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want the client to interact directly with the team members. There are two major reasons behind that.
Mm-hmm.
One, they think that the team members may not be able to impress the client as much, or they think that if the client is very sensitive about money and budgets, he may want to get the same work done from the team members directly at a lower cost. These are the common aspects that they have in mind, which is that's why they are not able to delegate. So how to do that?
Well, it's important to sign good contracts with your team members. So all the documentation, the bookkeeping, that should be very clear, and team members should have signed. So it depends on every country that how do you manage it. Contracts in Europe or USA, they are already very strong enough that if you're signing an employment contract, you cannot be dealing with your directly with the client for, like, say, after 5 years after your job or something like that, and that is very common. So feel free to add those things in your contracts to be sure that team members and clients, they cannot directly skip you in between and directly work together, and that is very standard internationally. So I think that is good to have thing.
And how to overcome this fear that the client really likes you, he knows that you know things, so client is impressed by your skill set, but your team member may disappoint the client because he is not as qualified as you are. So how to take care of that?
By having good team members.
Right.
Yeah. Like us. Like, we are delegating this work to our team members, and we are very confident that maybe they will be handling all the technical questions better than us, maybe.
I think they are.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
I don't think there is a maybe there.
Exactly. So I think that is very important to have the right resources with you, and that is your core strength. As a services company, if your team is strong, then you're strong. So invest in that, find the right resources, and keep them with you for the longer run.
Okay, so next lesson is to stay client focused. So now here the right balance means you want to make sure that your client is satisfied, and you give preference to what your client says or thinks, and then you have also need to make sure that your team is not over exhausted, or your team is not disturbed by the behavior of your client. So how to find this right balance between your team and your client, because every client wants the things done ASAP, and you don't want to exhaust your team members.
Yeah, here you have to find the right balance. It's very important. You have to find the ways how you can keep the balance between both things, because it's very important to stay client focused, because client is the person who is giving you work, making your company run with all the operations. because money is the king. So he's the one who is paying. So you have to keep them happy. But on the other side of the things, your team members, their health, their work, that is also very important. So what we usually do is, for example, if the client is having very strict timelines, and so sometimes maybe if he wanted to have something done by the single resource, maybe we can add another resource along with that person, so that we can deliver to the expectations of the client, and our team is also not exhausted. So you can do something like that as well, or think about it. So every situation will be very specific, and you have to add your experience into it, or your thought process into it, and see that how we can find the best solution that can fulfill both sides, because both sides are equally important for you. Your team members are also important for you, your clients are important for you. You have to keep both of them happy and make sure that there is a solution that satisfies both sides.
And I also think that it is also important to learn to say no to your clients as well, wherever required. And I think I learned this a bit late in life, because sometimes the clients expect things which are not possible in that timeline or in that time period, and you have to tell them right to their face that this is not possible, we can't do it. This is a realistic timeline in which we can do it, and this is how we will do it. And sometimes I've also felt that some clients become too bossy, and so you have to tell them that means these are the limits that we either party shouldn't cross, so that your team is not pressurized in any manner or not disturbed in any manner. So you have to clarify that boundary, that this is a boundary between the client and the team members, and this shouldn't be crossed by either one of those.
Yes, exactly. That's very important. And that is like, I have also experienced some clients who are too bossy and maybe delay some things on their end, and then put everything on us that you have this was not achieved or something like that. So it's important to keep the communication very clear in this, because sometimes things just happen because of the communication gaps. Sometimes client is expecting something else and we are expecting something else. Exactly as you mentioned, that sometimes clients are having very like optimistic timelines that are not really possible in the real world. So it's very important to keep them informed that this is not really possible, that possible timeline will be like this, so that they are already planning their things. Because if we try to understand from the client perspective, they have a lot of things revolving around the work that we will deliver. So for example, we are making a prototype and we have to deliver that prototype. They are planning to send it over to, let's say, some influencers. They have got appointments from them and everything. And for example, if we deliver that prototype by 3 weeks or 2 weeks, so all the appointments that they have taken, or for example, they wanted to take it on an expo or something like that. So it's important to understand their perspective as well, and see that what exactly they want to achieve, and then see that how we can fulfill from our side. So as I said, so it's very important to make sure that both sides are taken care of, their issues, understand their problems, and then find a solution.
Okay, so what do you think, what is the future of startups in engineering world?
Well, startups are gonna rule the world. That's for sure, because there are a lot of new startups that are expanding in the AI side of the things. Also, there is a lot, because startups mainly depend on the investment, and currently in the recent past and the near future as well, there will be a lot of fundings in the AI side. So it's very, and we are also expecting a lot of startups booming out of this time into the AI ecosystem. So yes, I think that is one of the main thing that will be booming in the near future. And also for the startups, I would say it's solving the problem. So the problem statement for a startup is very, very important. They should know that what exact problem they are solving. So once they understand that part, they will be able to deliver very better solution to it. and those startups will also be scaling up better.
So, and I also think that those companies that will embrace AI a bit late, they would not be able to scale as much.
Yeah.
Because the AI would, what AI will do is that facilitate you in doing different things at a faster pace.
Yeah.
For example, if we design a smart device, and once we start embracing AI, as we are on that route, and as we start using more AI tools, we will be able to do these jobs quicker, and doing those jobs quicker would be less lead time and more price competitive, because now it costs you less hours
Yeah.
to do that work. So that means a lot of more value for money for the client. So I think that I think we should encourage all the startups to start using the AI tools, and for every niche there's a different tool that is designed for that particular purpose.
Yes.
So I think we should really encourage all startups to start using AI tools and to increase their efficiency and to decrease their lead times. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, for sure. That is very important for all the startups, not really just the startups, but actually for the bigger firms as well. AI is something that is here to help you. So take the opportunity, take the advantage of that, and use that to best of your benefit. For engineers, for designers, for everyone around the globe. So every work can be improved by AI. Some of the tools may be just the software tools, some of the tools may be software plus hardware tools that we are also providing services in that domain. So these tools should be there to help people. So for example, one project that I would like to give a little glimpse out of it. So we recently designed a AI-based trolley that can help the car washing. So that is also something that is not really purely AI, because some people just think about AI tools like something software-based tool or something like that. But AI can be into the hardware products as well. So there can be something like this that can help anyone around the world based on the AI, so that their work can be improved.
So AI is sort of a part of your regular software that
Yeah.
can be integrated in anything, in any of the devices, hardware devices, smart devices. So I think AI would penetrate everything.
Yeah.
If you are hesitant at accepting AI or embracing AI, then you can be the next Nokia of the world.
Yes,
So-
maybe.
so to say, if that's not a very strong statement. All right, so this has been a very long conversation, so let's put a closing to it, and so I would want a reflective note from your side.
Well, I think as most of the European companies do, we believe in collaborations. And we believe that, as initially we discussed about this thing, that you should, as a startup, you should not be focusing on doing everything in-house. You should focus on collaborating with the right partners. Focus on something that you are capable of, you are proud of, and leave rest of the things to the partner companies. It's important to find the right partners in this domain. So for example, if you want to do graphics design work for your maybe marketing, find the best in that domain. If you want to get a product designed, feel free to reach out to us. We can get the quality work delivered to you. And also, for example, if you are also a services company and you are providing services in specific niche, you can also collaborate with other, if there is some work that needs to be done that you are not really proud of, or you're not really focused on that part, so you can also partner up with another company, and that is very common in Europe overall, and I would really like to appreciate that, and I would like to suggest everyone that we should be doing something like this, and we are always, as Devomech, we are always open to collaborations, and we want to work with anyone with any idea or any way possible.
All right, thank you very much for your time. And so yeah, I mean, if anyone has a very innovative idea and wants to get their product designed and introduce it into the market, So they can definitely get in touch with Devomech Solutions business development team,
Yeah.
and then they can find a collaborative approach of how we can work together on those new innovative ideas. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.